Okay, so we're recording. Yeah, I'm not sure how much context to give exactly, just that, well, so we were planning to have a chat tomorrow, and through weird happenstance, we just happened to be on the campfire voice chat at the same time.
You
And the
broke into my room.
I broke, that's right, because Willem didn't, just with the context, Willem didn't realize that he was in the campfire voice chat because he's still new to Discord. And so I saw two people in there and I joined, and they were both silent, so I was just hanging out there waiting for maybe one of them to come back. So Willem came back to his room with me, and I heard him like approaching, moving things around. And I said, "Hello, Willem," and he's like, "Oh, how'd you break into my room through the internet?" And so we discussed that, which is funny because I ended up, the story was funnier yet because I ended up breaking into his room through the internet and giving him tech support to explain how I could break into his room, how to disconnect from the campfire. Yeah,
It won't happen again.
yeah. So yeah, and it's cool. And then the conversation just picked up some momentum, and then we figured, why not start recording now? We can always record again tomorrow if we want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to see what happens. But maybe if it's nice, then we have it. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so this way we can split the difference between me and David. So David can join us tomorrow,
Oh,
and
sure.
now I have the chance to speak to you one on one.
Hmm.
Makes it a bit less dynamic for me,
Yeah.
and maybe we can make some progression or movement on the discussion on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because I have some how do you say, criticisms or reflections on what on your conversation with Ariel and David,
Yeah.
but I haven't really reached the solutions or the
Okay.
you know
Yeah.
constructive contribution part yet. So maybe we can go there tomorrow also.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I'm most curious about um, is well, actually, let me make sure I understand. Are you suggesting we have that conversation tomorrow, or are you just saying sort of whatever happens?
Whatever happens, but so because David asked if he can join us tomorrow, but now we are actually having the conversation, so that
Mm.
you know. But I like it this way, and then maybe when David is with us tomorrow, we can make some movement also on discussing Saturday.
Okay, right, right. Well, so one thing that I'm still curious about, well, so you brought up two things, and one of them I understand more, and the other one I'm still curious about. The one I understand more is you said that the conversation between me and Ariel and David didn't strike you as Dialogos, or is that a fair phrasing, or should I let you rephrase that?
Yeah, this is a hard part indeed. So I started off watching the video and just in a well, I did notice that you were talking with integrity, especially because you picked up and David also he chose the most greasy doorknob. He opened the door about leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were willing to address the elephant in the room and to discuss the difficult maybe topics. And so I had the feeling that you were willing to engage within integrity and you also did some reflection and some opening up about that. Ariel talking about she comes from a different perspective on more anarchy and distributed leadership, and then now trying this. So there was a yeah, I would say that is within the realm of Dialogos to me. So that was a good start.
Mm.
But then it went more into procedural type of discussion on uh, for example, the topic of leadership within the breakout rooms and on the process. So how you interacted there was more just exchanging and rapidly reacting to each other on that
Mm.
topic. And then to my feeling, you kind of lost an embodied exchange. Now and then, so in my definition, dialogos kind of implies trying to, uh, yeah, to work towards embodied exchange. So then I noticed that, and then also on the content that you discussed, I realized that to me is not dialogos context or atmosphere. When the topic, for example, on extroversion was discussed, because I remember Ariel saying, "Oh, so this could be a space where people could, learn how to be more extrovert, to show up, and have feedback on that, and to maybe even, become a good conversationalist." And I thought, but that's a game A goal.
Right. Okay.
That
Now
that that is
that.
showing up. Yeah. So that to finish my thought on that,
Mhm.
that was to me showing up on a presencing on a horizontal level, in a social level.
Mm.
And I think that Dialogos is first being present in the vertical level. So what is happening to me? What am I experiencing? What am I listening? What is coming up in my body, in my brain, in my heart, in my gut? And what do I see in the other? Are they listening? What am I seeing there? And what is happening in the relationship? And I would call that, for example, vertical presence. And so I thought that conceptually you guys were talking more horizontal presence.
Right.
And that's
Okay.
exactly the game A, game B thingy for me.
Yeah. Um, okay. So what? Okay. Now that. So I said there were two things you brought up, and I started with the thing that made sense to me, and that's what you just went over. But then you actually touched on the thing that didn't make sense, and now that makes more sense to me too. And that is the idea of how we were operating in a game B framework. When you said that at first, I don't know how relevant it is that my misunderstanding. But now what I understand you are saying um, is, well, is it right to say that it was that particular idea of people can practice the skills of broadcast, actually, that and that would be a good thing? Is that sort of the core of what leads you to sort of identify as like to game A?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that makes way more sense to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For example, if just to jam about this, so game B for me would be more unconditional. So if I'm introvert and I have nothing to say, then the game B scenario would be that I'm just aware of that.
Right.
Might be constructive to say, I have nothing to say, I feel introvert now. But even, if that doesn't happen, that just doesn't happen. The
Hmm.
other people could then ask, "Hey, you're silent. I noticed that you're silent. Makes me nervous, or makes me feel, you know, all kinds of care type worry about you." Or and then whatever happens with me if somebody says that. So it's much more truth uh, orientated. What is actually true
For the
instead
for
of
the
where we're
individuals.
going. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed the last part. I spoke over
So
you.
instead of where are we going?
Mhm. Right, right. You have it seated in here rather than
And
something too theoretical.
that is then the next step. If it's about truth, then it's always about embodiment. It's always here.
Mm.
Then there's also truth, conceptual truth out there, but the relationship we have with that is inside. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. If I can just connect that to Dialogos, that I think Dialogos is, especially with this video I just now released, is that the truth that you rely on is not conceptual truth, and maybe it's because conceptual truth is never really attainable, like the cold dead scientific truth that is commonly called truth. But what we can access is the personal truth. So maybe Dialogos is a way of sort of relying on this personal truth and listening to that, and then with conceptual truth, it's not something we ever claim to grasp. Is that
I think that's half true. That for me that ties into this postmodernist idea that truth is a subjective thing, and that's only half truth, because there
yeah?
is objective truth.
Mm,
But to communicate about objective truth, or about shared goals, uh, subjectivity has to be part of that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not black or white.
Right. I agree that it's we have to be careful not to. make the naive postmodern claims that there's no such thing as truth. And that's certainly not what I believe. I guess the way I see postmodernism is just that it makes a good point, you know, but it's not really the answer. The good point is that you kind of have to doubt everything, but then it can be taken too far so easily, which is to say that discussions about truth are futile, and that's far. I don't think that's right at all.
No.
I guess in a way I am maybe reconciling that a little bit is, well, earlier I said the cold dead truth is something that's not attainable. You can't go grasp the truth and hold on to it as a static thing, I think. And I think Dialogos, part of what Dialogos does is it lets you form a relationship with a more alive version of truth, which you would call logos, where you and your group are pursuing something, and there's an element of truth to it. Certainly what you're pursuing, the concept of truth is crucial to describe what you're pursuing, but maybe the key that maybe what I was trying to say earlier is that you never get the whole truth. You're never done. If you think you are, you probably don't really have the truth. Yeah. Does that land for you?
Not really, but it does get me to thinking that it's about the relationship that we have with with objective truth. Say you want to save the world, you know, you want to make a healthcare system that works better, that works for everybody, or that actually prioritizes health and uses economy to get there. So that could be a game B plan.
Mm-hmm.
So say if we interact about that, then there's an objective truth about how the system works. Say it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also objective hard cold solutions that you can write down and design how healthcare should work better. So that's all in a materialistic realm.
Mm-hmm.
But to get smart ideas about that, we need to bring our subjectivity online to have exchange on objective things.
Right.
And to combine our both of our intelligences and intuitions about that, I need to feel into what you just said about that objective reality and start jamming about it. And I can't solve that problem when I only stay in my head. And yeah, you can even take this so far on a spiritual level that the only way to save the world is stop saving it.
Mm.
Which actually means that your starting point is the world as it is, and how you experience it. And
Right.
start by loving reality, including all the grief and hardship and worry. Start to love the worry,
Mm.
and then as a person, we come online, and then meaningful exchange can happen.
Right. That reminds me of presencing, and what I was speaking to. I don't remember her name now. One of my previous videos, and she was saying, we were talking about sort of how one might be driven to try to tear down, societal structures because you think that there could be something better. But she was saying that if you really come from a point of presencing rather than absencing, you're not. Let me rephrase this a little bit to be clear.
Are you referring to Yannick?
Yes.
The conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board. Yeah. I resonated.
Right. Yeah. So the idea, just to recap, was that if you're in an absencing frame of mind, which my addition to that thought was like if you have this framework that you're holding on to tightly, you're not really in direct relationship with reality. You're kind of putting this belief system in front of it first and interpreting everything through that. then everything that threatens that becomes an enemy, and then you want to destroy it. So Western democracy might be one of these enemies that you want to tear down, whether you're conscious of that or not. But if you're instead presencing in a place of presencing, then you're much more closer to reality, and you can feel and you take in from an open place what is happening before you, and that seems like a much more effective and sustainable way to do it. And just to connect to what you were just saying, if you start with saving the world and you have a picture of what that looks like, that picture will blind you to what's happening in front of you. And so
Yeah,
if you
you're
stop,
fucked, basically.
say again.
You're fucked basically then.
Yeah, you can't
You have
begin.
you start off on the wrong foot. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not really constructive.
right. Yeah. Hmm. So then I feel like we got onto this topic when we were talking about the idea of objective truth. I wonder if we can connect it back to that. Um, I mean, I guess if you believe that you have some objective truth about, especially about how things should be, then that's going to blind you. Then you're holding on too much to this objective truth. I'm having trouble connecting it to what we were just saying now, though.
Yeah, sorry. I recognize. I realized that I interrupted you. So
No, I wouldn't identify that as the cause. Uh,
so yeah. Um, so the thing was. So how does this tie into to Dialogos?
right.
Is this an essential part of Dialogos
Hmm.
that people try to
Well,
present
I think it
and,
must
and,
be.
and bring their subjectivity and their or not?
I think it. I have a strong hunch that it is. I wonder if all I have are strong hunches, because I'm certainly not relying on too much deliberative logic. But um, yeah, it seems like that a crucial ingredient to Dialogos is this really authentic connection. And I can't connect with you if I'm not bringing my subjective. Like, what could I connect with you if not my subjective? What's true inside of me. That kind of subjective awareness, and I definitely see that as like a substrate of Dialogos. I don't think I think Dialogos needs to stand on top of or grow from this this emotional connection. Again, it's more of a strong hunch than a super strong conviction. But just give me 1 second. I have to take care of something, just like real
Yeah.
quick. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back.
All right.
Now I'm really back with my headphones in. Yeah, sorry to interrupt that flow.
And well, I can just babble on. A second observation that I made on your video with Ariel and David was when you discussed how the plenary should function.
Mm.
And what I noticed, so this is a critique or observation, that the facilitation of the plenary is different than operational responsibilities. So if you guys or you or Ariel or David or all together have this leadership role, uh, then I would suggest or I would wish that you that you have eye for the fact that facilitating that social thing is a separate task, is a thing.
Separate from.
Separate from organizing the infrastructure, setting up Zoom, sending out the agenda, asking people to send in ideas. Those are all very in the objective realm, and facilitating discussion has a lot to do with that presencing and that subjective realm. And the woman that you interviewed yesterday, Claire, she made a specific suggestion that you might want to have facilitators in that know how to deal with the type of stuff, and that kind of maybe supports our idea now that presencing is a big part of it, is a building block for Dialogos. And basically what we as humans do, and we had a little bit of an example on Discord about the private asking for giving consent or asking for veto about the publishing of this. We go out of being present all the time, and what happens then is that basically you start weaponizing, you start telling other people what to do, but you from a fear, for me maybe, that my privacy could be or that you don't listen to me. Then I start to talk in second person. You, Logan, should do this. Then there's no exchange. That's just warfare on a very civilized in a very civilized way. And I think that the facilitators that see that and that can facilitate that, they have done their homework in terms of those parts that Claire talked about, those parts of personality that have these lives, and yeah, they are conscious of that a little bit more than the average person. So then they have the presence to guide that into in a way that people are more within their own bodies and conscious of what they're doing.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and I think we've been planning the so yeah, I feel like I've been focused on the mechanisms of. Okay, let me phrase it differently. I haven't been paying attention to. I haven't been trying to solve the problem. I'm really struggling with how to put this. Somehow the priority to me does not seem to be to make the plenary sessions conducive to Dialogos. And I'm not really saying that's the well, I'm only observing that hasn't been what I've been focusing on. I'm not really trying to say that's the way it should or shouldn't be or anything like that. But it brings, but you sort of pointing me to that then brings up an interesting question, which is, well, a question I've been wondering is how central should Dialogos be to this? It's hard for me to tell, partially because a lot of people, I think, feel my excitement about it, but otherwise don't really know a lot about it. And so I don't really get a lot of, no, we don't want that, or yes, we do want that. So so that's made me unsure about how central a place it should be. And also I don't feel like an expert in Dialogos. I feel more like almost a hobbyist. And so, and this is all an experiment anyway. So it almost hasn't occurred to me to try to engineer Dialogos in the plenary sessions or give a space for it. I think that there has been an assumption that either it's impossible, no, I wouldn't say impossible, but so difficult that I almost would rather solve other problems. But I don't know, well, that's just sort of where my head is oriented. I'll just say that.
Sure. Yeah. This was also expressed during your talk with Ariel and David. The difference between plenary and breakout groups. Yeah, I can just react. I just have to be conscious of the fact that I have a certain vision, and I'm communicating from that vision. So I don't know either. And I just, but my feeling is that a lot of people, they are, that's just my intuition. They are down with that. They want to meet people on an authentic way. Like that guy, what was it, Jeffrey, the guy in Russia who just writes like, oh, great, I just want to meet people. I don't even need to know who you are, what you are. Just, meet me there and have a real contact. Just lovely. And I think more people are on that frame of mind or that vibe. And others are more goal oriented, or they want to make shit happen. Yeah, so it's a question mark for me too. Still, I don't know how. Yeah, because if I take my stance or my what I think should happen, here we go. If I take to the extreme, then everybody should get like sensitivity training and be like, all the 70s all over and you, so I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe the middle way, also for the difference between plenary and breakout groups, would be is that you just like any normal meeting, you discuss things, content, saving the world or whatever, or just having nice conversations, and that there is at least a culture that you are invited to look at yourself, how you operate within your communications, and whether you can listen to people, whether you can listen to yourself, that there is a sensitivity for that.
Do you, so when you with what you've just described, do you see that being in the plenary sessions or
everywhere? If I don't know what people want, but some people they mentioned we need game B local solutions. I'm not sure what kind of specific themes or problems they would want to address, but yeah, maybe they would not be so interested in wanting to focus on the way they are communicating. They just want to share ideas and make things better. So it really also depends on what people want, how their viewers, why they participate, and
yeah. But so it does sound like though that you have a desire or a hunger for the plenaries to be more. Let me just think and see if I can find a good phrase, because I have a feeling I think I understand more now. Well, yeah, it sounds like what you would like is for them to move from what happened last Saturday to something that's not more controlled, more harmonious. Was that sort of does that start to get at what you want?
No. Yeah, well, harmony is a consequence of what I want. Yeah. But that's what I want. Huh? So basically, if happens what I want, where my vision is now, or then everybody is basically continuously practicing mindfulness and presencing, and try to engage from that. That for me is like the basic cement on which the whole thing rests.
Yeah.
That's Willem.
Well, I mean,
Like,
yeah.
I'm talking to you now, and I'm checking my inside. Like, oh, I'm aware that this is recorded, for example.
Hmm.
I'm aware that there's other people in the group that might want different things. So I take that into account. I'm checked in with you as well. I'm consciously trying to not interrupt you and spit out thoughts when you are thinking and being silent for a moment, because I want to be here and you there, and then make a connection. So I'm working here. I'm presencing,
Hmm.
but the best that I can do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is my vision, to have that as the basis of the whole thing.
Right. Right.
And I have good reasons to think so. I can draw it out in systems theory for you. Are you interested? Are you familiar with integral theory of Ken Wilber?
Only like vaguely, not
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
yeah. So that's where I'm coming from,
Mm.
and some Buddhist meditation background,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's where my. And I also see it back. I also saw it, and that's, I think, also why I got so enthusiastic when you opened this up. When you were glowing, like, I need to do action now because I want Dialogos.
Mhm.
I thought to see it in your, feel it in your eyes, aura, whatever, that I thought that I knew what you meant viscerally, and it also is congruent with the festival of Rebel Wisdom, where they had these sense making, more brainy type of things, like, oh, don't believe everything you read in the newspaper, and this might be how you want to look at things. And then on the other leg, they had these love breakout groups, and trying to connect. You are my guru, and I can ask you questions, the type of stuff. That so that the latter part is exactly what I'm talking about, and I understood it as being an integral part of sense making, to have
Mm.
that embodied, uh, yeah, frame of mind.
Right. Um, I mean, I want it to be, and I think that is a big part of my initial inspiration. And I think that I've just had. Well, yeah, as I said earlier, I think some of it comes from not really being able to gauge exactly how much Dialogos is part of the shared vision. There's clearly a shared vision because everyone has come together around this thing. Um, but it's hard for me to tell exactly how much Dialogos is part of it. I feel like it's very important. And I kind of, well, especially now that I've talked to you and some of the conversations this week, I think it's safe to assume that we would all, or enough of us, would like for that to be a crucial ingredient, that we should. Well, that's why I'm happy to have put out the previous video, and I'm also happy that we're making this one as well. I think they both kind of, I think one gives a good image of Dialogos, and then I think this one is really exploring the motivations behind it. And again, I would love for the plenary sessions to somehow get some of that magic. But again, I guess all I can say is it seems so far out that I don't find myself reaching for it. I don't see a clear path to getting that magic in a room with 30 people who could all talk at once. I don't think that it's impossible, but I don't know that it's possible. Uh, and I suppose what I do know is that the breakout rooms, here's the plan that I'm moved to move forward on. It's to treat the breakout rooms as these engines, find ways to put them together and extract the insights from them. That, to me, it feels so close that I'm drawn to move down that road. And then so that is where, that's the place from which I try to sort of engineer structures around the plenary and in a way limit the plenary quite a bit, to sort of dive back in as much as we can.
What is your vision on what kind of insights do you want to reap?
That's a good fucking question.
So this circles back to the penetrating up ambition, right? So yeah, just on yeah. Have you had thoughts about that? Like, for example, Schmachtenberger was commenting on the protests now in America and the timing of that. So do you have a vision that we would talk about sense making of current events, or?
A sense that I have is almost that it's still too early to get too specific. It's like I have this image in my head where the first meeting was like this, like a circle with no clear direction at all. It was almost like kind of all over the place with some vague themes. And what I would be happy to achieve, let's say, next meeting is that the circle kind of becomes a little bit more directioned, but a little bit, you know, so it becomes like maybe oblong in a little bit of a way. I'd also like to get some core processes in place, but it's just getting back a bit more to your question. It seems like a hard question of what do we want to even ask ourselves? Part of my fascination is just a more technical kind of academic fascination with, can you ask a group of people a question and have the answer generated from Dialogos up? I mean, just to be clear, part of my interest is really just sort of like the engineer's interest. Yeah. I don't know what questions to ask it. Here's a really good question that we could ask, and it kind of gets to the nature of which I just sort of tried to describe, where I think too much direction is I think it's too soon for that. But we could ask, what is our relationship to game B? That would be, to me, because it's a bit oriented, but game B is so open, which I think is good. It's almost more of a set of design criteria than any concrete plan. To me, that sounds like that would be a pretty fruitful question. And I think we have to try to guess as well as we can of, we have to find the middle road between too specific too soon, because it might be a question that a lot of people aren't even interested in, and keeping it too general. I don't want to ask again, what should we talk about? You know, that would be way too general. That would be erring on the other side. And yeah, go ahead.
I was asking theoretically, you know, when we all matured in this, you know, I just wanted to have an example of how you view it, and it speaks to me. So I understand now. Yeah, I could see that actually happening, and that when you get back results from the breakout groups, then the understanding of my understanding of game B would benefit from participating in breakout group and hearing back within plenary on the other talks. Yes. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah. Yeah, and then now I also get more that then you don't see that the presencing is so much of a pressing issue in plenary, because people would just tell about their experiences or ideas that were exchanged or that were born, and you would just take note of that. So there wouldn't be much exchange or debate or dialogos in plenary. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and I would only qualify it by saying that it's not. I wouldn't say that it's not important. I would just say that the priority that I feel is not. It's like that's down the list, but it's on the list. I mean, the most beautiful thing I could think is that we could get a large group of people and then go up, and every level we're refining with Dialogos, and then we get something at the end. I mean, in fact, I just get goosebumps just saying that. That is very much, I don't know if it's the vision that I have, but I mean, that just sounds lovely. And I guess, I think that is, I don't know. I don't know if that's part of the vision, but I would love for that to happen. And I think one thing I've already gotten out of this conversation is just sort of, it's now clear in my mind that we should all keep an eye on those possibilities. Again, they don't feel so close that I feel moved to like try to reach for them, but I don't know that we can't, and it's certainly possible we could, or somebody could, and I would love to, any amount we can move in that direction where the plenary is a bit more like Dialogos, that, I mean, that's great. I think that would always be good moves.
I think it's possible. What we discussed before we started recording about the building blocks. So I think first you need, it ties into the coherence concept and the authentic conflict thing on the other side. So first you need to have a bit of social safety, and then a culture. No, and then the semantic. You know, people need to understand each other's words a little bit, and then some culture where you can, yeah, call people out to say, or to ask, hey, I think you're, you know, I feel not heard now, or can you check where you are, or what's happening there?
Yeah.
If that body of trust and comfort and coherence is there, then I think even with 30 people, the energy would go way down. So last Saturday it was for me it was like a chicken thing. You know, people, it was a lot of information, people reacting immediately after each other. My brain doesn't work that fast, so it's really hard to follow. So that's why I was also happy to be in the breakout room, because 3 people is I can handle better. But I think that you can reach really listening, so that the group, the body of the group is actually palpable, and people just chip in their 2 cents, and everybody is listening, and you can have the same dialogos in a bigger group, but you have to work on the building blocks, and so everybody can tune in.
Yeah. Well, maybe as we move forward, and I mean, I think we'll obviously be much more explicit about practicing Dialogos in the breakout rooms. So as we get better at that, that will naturally give us more insight into how, you know, how can we scale that up. Cool.
Which brings me back to my point that practicing presencing would be the best to spearhead on that, or I don't know the English way to say that, but to make that a priority to try to practice that.
Specifically in the plenaries, or you just mean in general?
No, in the breakout groups, to practice presencing, basically to practice communication.
Yeah.
And build from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's you could almost say it's the first step to inviting Dialogos and really making a home for it to come and inhabit. I think is presencing and circling. To me, those ideas kind of are overlap, at least in how we're using them.
I just know these words for 2 weeks, so
I
can't claim any authority, but it's just the feeling behind it.
Yeah, none of us can claim any authority. It's all being generated too quickly, but that's an exciting place to be too.
Yeah.
Well, that feels like a conclusion to me. I think maybe I'll stop the recording and start the upload on YouTube right away.
Yeah, I'll go watch you and Christian.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks. I'm glad we did this even a day early. That was really, and I like how it worked out too.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
See you tomorrow.